Morning. I'm back. My name's Duval, mental health warrior. And no, you do not see any ducks. We're done with ducks for today. I have got an absolute legend of a guest. It's going to be his first time. So we need to give him a bit of a warm welcome. His name is John Trager, and he is a women's empowerment coach. Now, before I actually bring him on, please please share this, please follow us if you haven't already, and please subscribe to our social medias if you haven't already. And as well, I got a little bit of an early present off my beautiful wife. If people remember, back end of 2021, we said we're going to do some merchandise. Now, here is the very first mug which people are actually could buy. But there you go. How does that look? There you go. It's an absolute delight. I even said to my partner, it was one of the best presents she ever got me. And you know what? I'm going to treasure this like there's no tomorrow. So anyway, I'm going to do the promo video, and we will see you in about 30 seconds. Would help if you actually added you.
Mate, that is a great looking cup.
It is, isn't it? I bet you want one, don't you?
I want 3.
You want 3?
Absolutely. One for me, one for my partner, one for my stepdaughter. We're all going to sit around and drink out of those mugs. They're great.
Oh, they are. They're an absolute delight. A little bit of promotion here, but we did actually say back end of 2021 we were going to make it happen, and here it is. All we need now is T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously the next logical step. And then where do you go from T-shirts? Do you go to tote bags maybe from T-shirts?
Maybe like keyrings and hats and other stuff.
Keyrings, hats, yeah, all great quality products that you can use for merchandise for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And right, we have got some beautiful comments. We've got my beautiful wife Kerry saying, "Bring the ducks back." The answer is no to that. Robert Brooker, do you know what? Big respect to him because he lives in America and it's going to be about 4, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning his time right now.
Oh wow!
Big respect to him. Rodolfo D'Angeli said, "Good to see you, Adam. Let's connect soon and have you on my show. Have a great day, brother, and keep up the great work." I've got an invite. You know what? I've never get an invite on here, but yeah, I'll message him after this. Yeah, reusable bags for shopping. Yes, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yes, reusable bags. Yeah, who knows? But
Put it on the list.
Tanya Pesk, is that one of your followers?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but she says good morning. But yeah, good morning, everyone. People are going to get sick of seeing me because I'm back to back. But it's great to have you here. You've been keeping up with what we've been up to. I'm surprised you've actually processed all the content in time. So with the amount we're putting out.
Mate, you are doing some absolute terrific work. And I just wanted to say thank you, Adam, for inviting me along to be part of this show. I truly believe in the cause. And yeah, it's a real pleasure to be on the show.
You're most welcome. Now, I'm just going to pull your bio up here, which all I've got is wow.
Which I apologize because I wrote it in about 15 minutes. So,
hey, that's fine. That's fine. But I've got it here. And we will be covering absolutely all of it.
So, this should be interesting.
Right, but first, as you know, I'm going to start with some quick fire questions to get us moving, get us pumped. So, hey, he's ready. He's ready. Yep. So we've had time to slap our makeup on. So yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I knew I missed something. Hang on, I'll be back in a second. No, I'm just joking.
Right, I'm gonna say, are you an indoor or an outdoor person?
I would say I am an outdoor person.
I can tell.
But look, at the same time, there's moments where I need to re-energize and I need to wipe some of, the world's energy off me and revitalize. So sometime I might spend a couple of days inside being creative and writing or doing something along those lines. So I do love the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Right. What type of self-care strategy do you actually enjoy the best?
For me, it's playing guitar. I find that whenever there's a whole heap of things building up inside of me, if I pick up a guitar and I just start strumming it and start freestyling, I can do, a good 30 minutes of just making it up on the spot. And for some reason after that, it's like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. It's therapy for me.
Yeah, which viewers, he's made it very clear he will not be performing today.
Which is a shame. I'm sorry.
Which is a shame. Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs. Dogs, mate. I grew up on a farm and we had exotic birds. When you've got exotic birds, you don't have cats.
No, that's what my partner needs to realise because, believe it or not, she's got 9 cats.
Whoa, that is a commitment.
That's a commitment, yeah. And she's looking at getting a 10th, but she's also asked me for a parrot. So I'm like, or a budget. I'm like, hang on a minute. You want a bird, but you've got a parrot.
Can you imagine being that parrot? Every day you wake up and you're surrounded by 10 cats. Like that parrot is going to be traumatized. Don't do it. That parrot doesn't deserve that kind of life.
Oh, no. She'll be laughing upstairs now. My partner's favourite question: does pineapple belong on pizzas?
Okay. Once upon a time, I had a very strong belief that pineapple does not belong on barbecue chicken pizzas. I don't understand where that came from. But as I'm getting older, I'm trying to evolve and be open-minded and not get stuck in a fixed mindset. And now I'm really enjoying the sweetness that pineapple can bring to a pizza. So once upon a time, and still believe barbecue chicken, don't understand where pineapple comes from, but definitely do enjoy pineapple on a pizza these days. He's shaking his head.
I absolutely despise pineapple. It does not belong anywhere.
Anywhere? You don't enjoy pineapple juice? Pineapple juice is beautiful.
The thing is, though, this is what I don't get. I hate pineapple, but I'll actually drink orange and pineapple squash.
Yeah, nice.
I'll drink that. That's not a problem. But eating pineapple, no, it's not for me.
Yeah. No, I got into drinking pineapple juice when I was 10. My singing teacher told me that it was great for the throat. And ever since then, I've just been obsessed. Love pineapple juice.
Wow. Right. The last one, I'm going to say your favourite season. Spring, summer, autumn, winter.
This is a tricky one. Like, I've just moved to Brisbane, Australia, and for your viewers that are familiar with Brisbane's weather, it's quite tropical, so it gets hot and sweaty. And I was originally from Melbourne, where when it's summer, it's like, 35, 40 smashes you in the face. When it's winter, it's pouring and miserable. So, look, once again, I don't like to be a fence sitter, but I do love a rainy day and being able to listen to the rain on the roof as I go to sleep. But I do enjoy being able to get out in the sun and go and, play cricket with my stepdaughter or go for a hike or whatever it is that we're doing for the day.
Brilliant. Nice. Right, let's dive right into it because there is a podcast literally right after this. And no, I'm not on it. Right. Women's empowerment coach. Now, every empowerment coach, when it comes to women I've come across, are women. Now, you're the first bloke that I've come across that actually specialising in this.
Wow,
So,
I feel very special.
oh yeah, absolutely. But I want to know what. I want to start with the struggles you faced. It's like being overcome severe depression, periods of being suicidal, drug addiction, domestic violence, the lot. How are you still here?
Look, I would say music is a big part of that, to be honest with you.
Oh, brilliant.
I think it's been a savior in so many ways. Growing up as a man who, my father was born 1925, so he had me quite late in life, and we never spoke about emotions growing up. So, like many men, I didn't know how to emotionally regulate. I didn't know how to express my emotions. I suppressed it, and I guess I was really lucky to have found music and creativity very young in life, and I used that as an outlet to be able to manage my mental health over the years.
Wow. Wow. But wow. That's all I can say. But I want to talk about when you were dealing with these struggles. Like, do you know what the biggest trigger actually was, and what was your response when you found that out?
I think for me, it was the whole, all of that you just mentioned before, whether it be the depression or the drugs and the domestic violence and the debt and the grief and all of that. It was all escapism. It was not wanting to face my reality. And as you get deeper into your personal development journey, you start to realize that we're creating our own reality based off our perception of our external events around us and our thoughts about ourselves. So for me, I got diagnosed with depression when I was 15. And that was around the same time that I started having my first period of being suicidal. And I was so angry and I didn't know what was going on. Over a period of about 6 months, I'd gone from being a relatively happy kid who was, happy-go-lucky to just being angry and, starting to take that out on other people and not realizing that it was this self-hatred almost that was causing me to be quite reactory to people in my life. And I went through that first period of being suicidal, and I was really lucky that my mother had programmed into me after a young man had passed away from suicide not long before that suicide was selfish, and she drummed that into me, I think, out of fear more so.
Yeah.
And so when I got into that place, that was the voice that was in my head constantly telling me that. So there was almost like a shame and a guilt stopping me from going down that road every time I thought about it.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, all the warriors, we're all warriors anyway, but everyone part of the mental health warrior team, family, shall I say, we have all experienced suicidal thoughts, even attempted it, myself included. But for those that don't know what it looks like, and disclaimer, I'm not saying for people to actually try this, but what does suicide actually look like from your perspective? Being in that moment.
I can only speak from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think everybody's is different and what leads them there and the thoughts that race around inside your head. But it's this place of just feeling like it's like a hopelessness, like nothing you try seems to make it better. So you start wondering, well, what's the point of being here? And you start to almost, rationalize in your mind that everyone else around you will be better off without you being here. And I think that's the common theme that I noticed between all three periods of being suicidal was that I just thought I was doing people a favor, that the pain that I was in and the way in which I was reacting to the external world around me was just causing too much upset for those people, and that it was better if I, wasn't there to do that to them anymore.
Absolutely. But I now have come to terms that hitting rock bottom, it does feel and look negative, but it can also be positive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, my rock bottom wasn't even being suicidal. If I'm dead honest, I think my rock bottom was the death of my father, who was such a hero for me. And when I got to that point, I think what I realized was that even though my dad, like when he passed, he was like 85 and he was in a nursing home, there was still this security blanket around me that made me feel like I was safe in the world, like I had my dad to protect me, even though, he physically couldn't. That when he was gone, there was this realization that, oh, geez, I'm now responsible for making sure I get through this. And that's when I think that after hiding from the grief for probably a good 18 months and going through, a relationship breakdown, just got to this point where it's like, okay, I know what it's like now to be in these dark places. And I asked myself probably the most important question I'd ever asked myself, which is, what do I want? I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want depression. I didn't want to be suicidal. I didn't want to be in toxic relationships. I didn't want to feel worthless and hopeless anymore. But I'd never at any point asked myself, well, what do I actually want? And it was such a simple question. And the answer came back even simpler, which was that I just wanted to be happy. And when I made that choice that all I want to do is be happy, I then set all of my attention and focus towards working out what the hell does that even mean and how do I go and be that?
Absolutely. You touched on depression, and I'm actually really glad and grateful you have, because I've stressed this enough and I'm going to stress it again. And this is for everyone, absolutely everyone. I've now learned that if you write the word depression on a piece of paper, I guarantee if you take each letter, you'll be able to turn it into a positive statement. People are going to ask, how? Now, obviously, if you take those letters, if you want to try it, that's fine. But
I will.
Yeah. Have you got paper and pen near you?
I've got a big giant whiteboard here, actually, right next to me.
Yeah, go on then. Go on then. Yeah, let's give it a go. If you write the word depression, and this is for the viewers as well, if you want to do this, that's fine.
All right, so each letter has to be a positive.
Yeah, no, I'm going to transform that word, that negative word, into a positive statement. Because the saying goes, where there's a negative, there's always a positive.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah, and if you take the first letter, and that is I. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the first of it, I.
Okay.
And then the second word is pressed. So you're using the P-R-E-S-S-E-D.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got two letters left, and that is O and N. So from depression, you've got I pressed on.
I like that. I really like that. Oh, I'm going to write that down and steal that. That's beautiful.
There you go. That's
Very
exactly
nice.
what depression is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And that is for everyone that wants to know that. We've also got Natalie Duncan tuning in. We've got Dallas Worth.
Hey, Nat. Hey, Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is obviously new to here. Welcome back. Hi, JT. Is that your new nickname now?
Well, that's what my partner calls me, JT.
Right.
And Dallas, it's good that you're here, mate. Dallas is an absolute legend, so it's awesome that he's checking this out.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, please all share this as well. Like, subscribe, everything like that, because this legend's been doing it all week. Let's just say that. The amount of tags I've got. But yeah, we've got another Australian in Sandy Dew. She's tuned in. Natalie Wu. Yeah, there you go. Right. I want to quickly jump on your spiritual side.
Okay.
Now, not many people know what the spiritual side is. I've recently been introduced to it, and you know what? I've never looked back.
Yeah, nice.
I've tried meditation, I've tried yoga, I've even tried aromatherapy. And I highly recommend it to all. But I want to know, what introduced you to the spiritual side?
Well, I spent most of my youth and childhood as an atheist. My father lost a son in the Vietnam War, And so his thoughts were that if there were a God, he wouldn't have taken a 19-year-old boy away like that. So I even was the school captain of a Christian community college as an atheist, and the principal knew this and pulled me aside at the start of the year and said, hey, look, we know what your beliefs are. Could you just keep them to yourself? And I said, yeah, no, I'll respectfully do that. Now, as I went through with this whole atheist mindset, I found after a period of time with the depression and going through the suicidal thoughts and periods of my life that being an atheist is a really negative way of looking at life. And look, once again, I want to come back and say that, whether you believe in spirituality, religion, atheism, whatever you want to believe is your business. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, believe what you want to. But for me personally, from my perspective, believing that this was all there was probably made my focus more towards the negative things in life rather than having a little bit of that childish magic of, what really does the universe hold? And it wasn't until I got to that point it was 2009, I remember, I got introduced to Esther and Jerry Hicks' The Laws of Attraction. And I'd never heard of the laws of attraction before other than I'd seen The Secret, and I'd watched The Secret and I was like, yeah, okay, I understand what they got here, but there's something missing. I don't understand. There's something that just doesn't resonate with me. And I later found out the thing that doesn't resonate about The Secret is the fact that they missed one of the most important steps. It's great to manifest, it's great to visualize, but you also need to take action in alignment with what you're manifesting. The Secret sells this whole idea that if you sit there and you vision it and you feel it and, you want that new car, you're going to get that new car. Well, that's not necessarily true. Like, those are the first steps of it, but you also have to take opportunities that arrive. And what I found was that, an opportunity will arrive and you'll step through that door and another opportunity will arrive and eventually get to this place where the car does arrive, but you need to take action in alignment with your thoughts and your manifestation. So when I come across the laws of attraction explained through Abraham Hicks's teaching, and look, I must admit, it was pretty wacky at first when Esther is basically, I'm not sure, are you familiar with Esther and Jerry Hicks?
Yeah.
Well, for those who aren't familiar, Jerry communicates to Abraham, who is a spirit guide and speaks through Esther Hicks. So it sounds pretty like, woohoo. But once I actually put that judgment aside of, okay, this is pretty wacky, and I started listening to what Abraham was saying, I was like, this seems to be the thing that makes the most sense to me. I don't think I've ever heard life explained to me so precisely and so accurately. And when I started to, look at my life and examine, where it had been, I could see that the laws of attraction had definitely been part of that. So for me, we talk about spirituality, but I think every individual's interpretation, once again, of spirituality is very different because that's such a massive concept. But for me, I answer to a higher power that keeps me accountable. And I call that higher power the universe. And the universe is always around me, and whatever energy I'm sending out into the universe is returned to me. And that doesn't mean that bad thing or challenging moments I'm not going to be faced with them. I am, but what I find is now with this faith and this understanding that this universe is, guiding me on this path, and everything is an opportunity to learn and to grow, that even in the darkest moments now, I don't find myself anywhere near where I was when I was suicidal and depressed. I've just got this underlying understanding that no matter what I'm faced with, I can get through it. I can handle the emotions that will come up as I'm facing that challenge, and that I will grow and learn and be a better version of myself on the other side. So that helps me then stay focused when I'm facing those challenges and move my way forward through them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I really do. And also Natalie does, Tanya does, and I now believe when it comes to spirituality, obviously there's a big universe out there, but in reality, there's a bigger universe.
I've lost you.
Have you got me?
Oh, I can't hear.
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Why am I not hearing you?
Can anyone hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
You know.
What is going
Hang
on?
Hang on. Bear with.
Hello.
Oh, hang on. Can anyone hear me? Anyone hear me? Right. You hear me? Brilliant. Could you hear? Could you hear John as well? Loud and clear. Right. Brilliant. That's weird.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Adam. Sorry about that, mate. I still haven't worked out how to turn notifications on my phone. I got a call and it threw everything off. So I apologize to yourself and the listeners.
It was you.
It was me. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, we've got Robert Brooker. We've got Dallas is saying he can hear us. Over on LinkedIn, Dr. Jennifer Hawkins, the emotions therapy, whatever she is, she can hear us. Great chat.
Beautiful.
Loud and clear from New York. We're in New York.
Nice.
Yeah.
So where were we?
Yeah, where were we?
We're in spirituality.
Yeah, I was just saying that there's a big universe out there. I get that, but there's a bigger universe, and that is with ourselves. We are our own universe.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I do. I absolutely enjoy life when it comes to this. Yeah, it's good to get negative. We always have to have that side of negative to us because that keeps us human. But yeah, positive all the way. And the law of attraction, the first person I recommend you get in touch with is Anthea Morphotis. Okay. She's our abundance warrior. She is an absolute amazing warrior. She's got her own show as well. Yeah. So yeah, I'll connect you both.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be really great.
Yeah. Right. I want to touch on your singing, your music. Now, when did you find out you had that talent for singing?
I would say, and I wouldn't describe it as a talent, I'd more say that it was something that just resonated within me as a person. But I think I've loved it since I was a young boy. You know, I started singing when I was 8 or 9, and I came from a small country town. So the only opportunity to perform and to sing was to sing country music. And so I started in country music, singing Australian classics like Slim Dusty and John Williamson, who are probably names that you're not familiar with because they're so Australian. And then by about the age of 15 and started to get angry, I found rock and roll. And then I started playing in bands and you know, it was majorly influenced by, you know, Nirvana and great Australian bands, Silverchair, and that 90s grunge period was big on me, and started playing as a bass player, and then very quickly became the singer of the band.
So who would you say is your biggest role model you looked up to when it comes to music?
Okay, so I've got a list of my 5 favorite songwriters, because I would classify myself first and foremost as a songwriter over a musician. You know, I can play drums, guitar, and bass, but they're just tools for me to create. But my favorite songwriter is Silverchair's Daniel Johns, and I love Daniel Johns because he's just never gone with the flow of what the industry expected. He's always done his own thing. My second favorite would be Darren Hayes from Savage Garden, which, you know, a lot of people know Savage Garden, but they don't realize that Darren Hayes' solo stuff was just so unique in itself. And then third, Kurt Cobain is my third favorite songwriter. Fourth is John Lennon. And number 5 is a really strange one. It's probably a tie between Art Alasakis from the band Everclear and Neil Finn from the band Crowded House.
If you ask for my views on it, I would say I would have guessed Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses were in there. Axl Rose.
Look, I must admit, I probably don't resonate with that 80s big hair, eyeliner
Oh.
period. Being a country boy, give me a flannelette shirt any day.
Well, when you mention country, I'm like, he's going to say he's into Dolly Parton, isn't he?
Hey, look, I have total respect for Dolly Parton. She is an incredible songwriter and has an incredible career. So absolute respect for Dolly.
Oh, well, there you go. But yeah, it says here that you have played in front of a crowd of over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
So my biggest question to that is, with all them struggles you've been dealing with over the years, what mindset did you have when you first went onto that stage for the very first time?
In front of 10,000 or on stage? Look, first there was like about half an hour before going onto that stage, laying on the cold concrete out the back of the venue, just feeling like I was going to vomit, like freaking out. And then as soon as you jump on the stage, it's like this magic takes over and you get caught in this space in which it becomes almost hypnotic, that you don't even identify the fact that there's 10,000 people in there. You're just in this space and you're connecting to what you're doing, and then it's over like that. And it was one of those experiences that I'll never forget. It was life-changing, and by life-changing I mean not actually the experience of standing on the stage. I'll give you a little bit of a story about what happened that night. Yeah. I was 17 years old and I was in a very successful band at that point in time, and we'd got into this position where we could perform in front of that crowd as a part of a competition. Later on that evening, it was about 1:30 in the morning, and I was sitting with my mother in a McDonald's, and a lady came over to me. 17 years old I was. A lady came over to me and she said, "Look, myself and my 4 daughters," and they were very attractive young ladies, "have just seen you play and we thought you were amazing, and we were just wondering if we could get our photo with you." And I was like, okay, but something inside of me, I started freaking out. And this was at a time when I was severely depressed as well. And I started freaking out because I guess I separated me as a person and the performer that was on those stages as 2 different characters. Those were 2 different people. Yeah. And I was jumping up there and being almost someone else. I was being that rock star, where when I'm sitting with my mum, that's me, the private person who, goes through everyday life. And so what happened in that moment was I got freaked out and realized that if I was going to pursue this career of wanting to be a musician or a rock star, that I needed to create some sort of boundary between me and the public. And that's when I became John Trager, because John Trager is not actually my legal name. It's a character that I created when I was 19. I'm a huge fan of romantic comedies, and one of my favorite films is Serendipity. And I chose this character because my favorite actor is John Cusack, and in the movie Serendipity, he plays Jonathan Trager. So I created this character then, so when I was performing, I could become Jonathan Trager, which I ended up cutting down to John Trager because it was just easy to spell. Yeah. And then I could leave my legal identity and who I thought was me as this safe space away from that character.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it was very much one of those experiences of not only was it mind-blowing to experience that, but the afterflow from that then basically has been a major contributor to me spending many years almost lost in my own identity of who I was. And, my legal identity was working these boring jobs to basically support the creative side of me, which was John Trager. And there was this internal conflict between both of those characters. And it's only been over probably the last, I'd say, 5 years that I've been able to consolidate those characters and to identify and be authentically me and know that, I'm amazing. And I don't say that in an egotistical way, even though there's ego behind it, but it's self-love that, I accept myself for who I am, despite the fact that sometimes I come across as quite multidimensional as a person and can be many different aspects, whatever's required of me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit off topic. Are you into sports?
Mate, I didn't want to bring this up because I am a massive cricket fan, and we have just beaten the English here in a home series of the Ashes.
No, it's actually Americans just brand it as soccer, but it's football here in the UK. And when you first came on the camera before we actually went live, I'm like, am I on live with John Trager or am I live with Andre Perlaw?
I've never heard of him. Is he like a famous English?
No, he's actually a famous Italian player.
Right.
He's Italian. Yes.
No.
What I'll do is after this, I'll tag you in a post where obviously I've got a picture of you, but then obviously a picture of Perlaw, and I'm like, right, there's your identity. Maybe that's your twin, because you look exactly like him.
Separated at birth, maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
But look, in all seriousness, I know that you guys over there like to call it football. We here in Australia call it soccer because we've got our own football, Australian football, which is very different. But yeah, I still can't understand the appeal of soccer. I actually got taken to a football game. Sorry, I'll call it football so we can resonate on that topic. And what I really enjoyed about it was not the sport. I found the sport really, really boring. It wasn't until, actually, I apologize, two aspects. I really love the crowds. The tribalness in the crowds at soccer is really a unique energy to be around. And that's what I love about live sport is the energy of the crowd in those moments. But I found it really boring until someone said to me, think about it like Test cricket. Hours can go by where nothing happens, but when something happens, it's so much more exciting because of all those hours of nothingness. And then I had a whole new respect for football. I was like, oh, right, I get it. This whole offside rule's a load of bollocks and it slows the game down. But I do understand what's going on here. I can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. But my advice to people is, I know people like to have a drink, whether it's juice, alcohol, and have something to eat. My advice is don't get into the stands with food or drink, because this was many years ago. I took my partner to a football game, and obviously it was my team versus her team, which was Bolton versus Liverpool. Right. And obviously I took her, and literally just after half time, we came out, and obviously a minute after the whistle went for the second half to start it, Bolton scored. My partner was having a drink at that point. She nearly choked. So I'm like, there you go. Never again. But what I did love, though, was the atmosphere.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's nothing like, for me, being a huge cricket fan and also being a massive Australian rules football fan, going to the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, with 90,000+ people. It's just like electric to feel the energy. Now, not so much fun if your team is the away team and you're surrounded by 90,000 Richmond Football Club members, which is an Australian team here that's very popular. That can be like, oh boy. And if your team's getting thumped, that's one of the most painful experiences you'll have in your life. But if your team is doing the thumping and 90,000 people are being quiet, that's a fascinating energy in itself.
It absolutely is, yes. Yeah, I've been to games where we were getting battered, but then the other team was getting battered. Yeah, I've been to both. So I've witnessed both sets of atmospheres, but hey-oh. Anyhow.
But look, I think that's one of the things that I love about sport, and going back to linking sport to mental health, is that I'm an AFL Australian football fan, and that's been played in the winter, and cricket's played in the summer. So what I love about following both of those sports is that I have a team, Geelong Football Club in the AFL, and I've got the Melbourne Stars, which are a 2020 franchise here in Australia. And when the Cats are finished and their season has been rubbish and they're out of it, I'm like, yep, go the Stars. Looking forward to the Stars season. And then when the Stars choke and burn, it's like, bring on the footy season, go Cats. So I'm always excited and looking forward to the future, no matter how badly my team is doing. I've always got something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, I will be bringing you back for part 2. Absolutely, I really will. But let's wrap it up where I want to ask about you empowering women.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's interesting that you said at the start of this that I'm the first male that you found that's been in this field. And I have to be honest, this has been a challenge to get to this point. When I first went into the coaching world, I was told that ultimately as a coach, you will end up probably coaching a former version of yourself. And so for a long period of time, I thought that I'd be coaching men through depression. And as I started coaching, and I didn't have any particular niche, I was just working with, random people on whatever it was that they were facing challenges with. I started to identify that I really, really got quite lit up when I would work with women, and when they'd have some sort of realization or some sort of breakthrough in a session, it was like this natural high. I'd just like come out of the session and I'd be feeling $1 million. I'm like, this is great. This is the greatest thing I've ever done. And I'd just felt like, wow, this is what I want to do with my life. But quite for a long period of time, had the imposter syndrome of what would a man know about women? And I got to this point where I realized a couple of things, that this was a tribal cycle. And by tribal cycle, I mean a belief pattern that's been passed down through my family. My father was very much someone that drove into me right from day one that my role on this planet was to respect, protect, and help women. And I watched him as a young boy, when the old lady down the road needed someone to chop her wood, he would go out there, he would chop it, he would bring it to her, and there was no expectation of anything. And so I watched him, help women throughout his entire life. And then when I sort of realized, wow, this is probably why I'm really lit up by this, because this is my purpose. Yeah. I got to this point of where I just want to empower women, because look, I'm sure there's no men watching this at the moment, but men have had a pretty good run. They've been in charge since the day of dawn, and I think I'd like to see a world where women were in positions of power and making choices, because I truly think that we'd be living in a really beautiful world. And I'm not saying that we're not living in a beautiful world. There's obviously a degree of tongue-in-cheek in what I'm saying. But I do think that if we can get women to a position where they can start to harness their power, because I think that women are incredible creatures in their ability to multitask, their emotional empathy that's almost like naturally built in. There's just so many qualities that I admire about women. And I thought if I could dedicate my life to helping them unlock their power and become the best versions of themselves, this is like amazing. Why wouldn't I want to wake up every morning and do that? And look, this is where the other element of it comes from. Like, I would consider myself quite selfish, because I feel so good when I help women that I want to feel that all the time. So for me, there's almost this element of being a giant narcissist and just wanting to feel good, which I would also put the Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa in that big bag of narcissists that are just helping others because they want to feel good and they know they will be rewarded by their higher power for doing so. But look, I can't imagine wanting to do anything else with my life now.
Absolutely. And I congratulate you on that. And that Dallas has just said, what are tug, and what are you saying, John? That's what Dallas says. But with the UK, though, we've had, because obviously we've got prime ministers here, and at the minute we've got,
Boris.
Don't get me started, please don't. But we've had both males and females in power.
Yeah.
And I know that America, they've only had just men.
Yeah.
So I would like to see what America would look like with a female in power. I really would.
I personally, and once again, I don't want to get into political beliefs.
No, let's not.
I think there's a great way of, making losing friendships is talking about politics. But I do believe that most political systems are designed around, unfortunately, having to compromise one's own values to get into a certain position. And the American system, as an observer, not somebody who lives in it, seems to be one that's very driven around money and receiving money to be able to get into that power. And once getting into that power, you're unfortunately seem to be already bought.
It's not just America, though, John. It's everywhere.
I agree.
Well, let's not get there, because we'll get
let's not go into
down.
that. We could be there all day. That's absolutely. But the other thing I want to say, if I can, Adam, about the women's empowerment is that I'm never ever going to pretend for a moment that I know what it's like to be a woman. I can't. There's no possible way I can. And that's one of the things that I always am very clear with my clients about, is the fact that I'm not here pretending that I know what your life is like. We're all individuals and we're all unique, and women, psychologically go through a very different experience growing up and being a woman in society compared to a man. So I make it very clear with all of my clients and women that I meet that, look, I'm here to help you unlock whatever it is that's holding you back, whatever limiting belief you have, or, to help you try to get to wherever it is that you want to get to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I absolutely respect you massively for saying that. All I say, though, is when a woman asks a male to ask what the woman's thinking, never go there. Never.
Look, Adam, I guess my entire life has been surrounded by women. This is the other thing I probably realized when I started realizing that I was getting lit up by working with women, was that, my friendship group, my community is really female driven. I've got a lot of friends that are women. I've got my partner and my stepdaughter in my life. I love hanging out with women and talking about life. And probably also having been a man who, started quite sensitive and then learned to language my emotional experience of life and grew that EI aspect of me, found so much more reward in speaking to women, probably because I was interacting with more women who were in touch with their emotions and who they were, where quite often men don't have that experience. And I'm not saying there's not emotionally intelligent men, because we know there's a lot of them out there. But because I grew up in a small country town, I wasn't exposed to as many. So most of my friendships were women. So, all of this links back. And one of the things that I love too is, if we want to tie everything all up, part of my journey of overcoming depression was reading the Dalai Lama's The Art of Happiness. And just recently I stumbled across a quote from the Dalai Lama in 2010, where he said, "The world will be saved by Western women." And I thought that was really fascinating. And what he meant by that was that Western women are in a position, I guess you could think of it in regards to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where, women that are in non-Westernized countries quite often are struggling just for the basic, water and shelter and all those things. But in Western country, women have, so much more access to be able to get to that self-actualization stage, that if we can, or, all those coaches and people that are supporters of mental health and empowering women can get them to start to unlock their potential, that maybe, we are in a position, or maybe we will see in our lifetime, a world in which, and saved is such a big concept again, but that we start to see more love spread. And that's what I think ultimately is the key to all of it. For years, Adam, the Beatles sang "All We Need Is Love," and I argued. I was like, no, we need all these things, we need this. But when you actually chunk down under all the things that we need, it always comes back to love. And I think that if we had women in positions of power, making more decisions, and I don't mean throw men out and put women in charge. I mean us work together as human beings to spread love.
Well, I did actually say, though, before I get to Dr. Jennifer's comments, I said that this year is the year of connection.
Yeah, I love that.
And I absolutely agree. And Kerry can shut up as well, because she said, "Give Adam a few lessons, John." It's all right. Me and Kerry have a banter all the time. But Dr. Jennifer, she's come up with a couple of really powerful comments. But after a strict Christian upbringing, I became an atheist. But as I know, I naturally feel the need to be spiritual. Now, I just simply believe in the spirit of life. I like John's idea of being in alignment with the universe. Brilliant. And another one is, I'm actually going to put this on screen. There you go.
I'm an author psychologist researching emotional mindset and group psychology for my next book, looking at indigenous cultures amongst other stuff. I don't blame you for having a cocky mindset after the cricket, John. Lots of emotion in sport. Thank you, Jennifer.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
There you go.
And look, I, over the years, have had challenges with managing myself after my teams have a bit of a victory. But I'm trying to become far more humble as I age. So that's why I wasn't sure whether it was going to be a testy subject that I shouldn't bring up, but I'm glad we've been able to share that.
Absolutely. Right. And the final question is, will you recommend the Mental Health Warriors?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that the more that we can talk about mental health and start to destigmatize it more, I think that that's where we're going to get into a place where, once again, as we go back, we'll circle back to the start of our conversation, which is that we're creating our reality. That these external experiences are bringing up emotions that are built on our beliefs, our values, our experiences, our tribal settings that have been conditioned into us from our parents, which then creates an internal representation, and our behaviors are reflective of that. What I've noticed, and once again, going back to the depression aspect, is that when I was severely depressed, I thought the world was, and I thought it was messed up, and all I could see was all the bad people doing stuff. And every time I looked around the world, I saw this common denominator, and it was always linked to people. People were messing everything up. And when I made that decision that I wanted to be happy, I identified that that wasn't a positive mindset. And so I started focusing and looking for amazing people in the world that were doing incredible things, and they were everywhere. And so what changed wasn't the world. It was the way in which I viewed the world. And that's what I mean when I talk about we're creating our own reality by our own perspective. And you can make choices that align with that perspective.
Yeah. I'll just quickly ask this last question. Jennifer put, do you think men should have a liberation movement, John?
It's such a big question. And to be honest, Jennifer, I'd probably want to take some time to reflect on it, because liberation itself is such a big concept that can mean so many things to different people. So if we were having this conversation face to face, I'd ask you what you meant by liberation first so I could understand it. But look, I'm a true believer that ultimately we are human beings. We are all here with this just wanting to be loved. And if we can get to a place where we can learn to forgive ourselves and each other for everything that has gone before, and we can start trying to walk together down the path of building a better world together, then it doesn't matter whether we're men or we're women or what we are. It just comes back to being simply human beings and spreading love.
Yeah. Well, I want to absolutely thank you for coming on and sharing part one of your story. I will be getting in touch to bring you back.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you to everyone that's tuned in, whether it's now or on the replay. And all I've got to say is a bit of housekeeping is quickly grab a cuppa, do whatever you need to do, because in about 5 minutes, our Rainbow Warrior Caroline Murphy-Bennis is going to be live. She's going to be live with a health and well-being coach called Lawrence. So, tune into that. And please share, subscribe, what you need to do. And that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. So, can I just say thank you, Adam, for your time and for inviting me onto this. This has been amazing to be able to sit down and to connect with you and to be able to share our thoughts and talk about mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're just getting started, mate. Right. I'll see you all later.